Yesterday
Good
I
morning.
attend your Tuesday, your
Hello,
evening
ma'am. Good
class.
morning.
Good morning, Abhay. How are you?
Yes, ma'am. I am good, ma'am.
Conversation.
How about you, ma'am?
I am also doing fine, Abhay. चल रहा है somehow.
Okay, ma'am. Thank
I
you,
have
ma'am.
attended the evening
Yes.
class yesterday.
Yesterday's
Conversation
evening class. Yes, for conversation.
family. Today is the
Family.
topic. Yes, ma'am.
No, we
Today,
will continue with that. And once everyone has spoken on that, we will pick another topic for conversation.
okay, ma'am. I will
Okay, दो
speak
तीन
today.
दिन conversation करेंगे. Because
Yes,
I
ma'am.
think people are enjoying the conversation sessions a lot. And I can see that people are improving a lot during the conversations. They are speaking much better when they are conversing.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay, so इसीलिए I'm thinking of doing the conversation classes for a few more days.
Ma'am,
Yes,
10 o'clock class also debate class, ma'am, today.
10 o'clock was also debate. Very nice.
Yes, with
What was the topic,
with
Abhay?
two students.
Yes,
Working from office better than working from
from
home,
home.
remote area.
Right, right. Not at all. Working from home is the best.
Not working
Not
from
true.
office is good, ma'am.
It's really good. निकलना ही नहीं पड़ता है in all this
No,
heat and
ma'am. But
all this.
my culture of working culture is a office culture, not
Right, right.
not a home culture. And
I think every job has
ma'am,
its
only limited department and organization working from the home.
right, right. Absolutely, absolutely correct, Abhay. Not all jobs can be done working from home, right? Some
Yes,
are
ma'am.
actually good, but some are not that good if
Not
you're
home.
doing it from home.
And ma'am, children, my student up to standard 5. So how can you teach from the home?
Not at all, not at all. It's very
Not at
difficult to
all.
teach young
Uh,
children online. Very
uh,
difficult.
children
Chaliye. Yes.
attraction with and a student attraction with physically, ma'am.
Right, right. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. Completely agree with you, Abhay. Chaliye, let's start today's class then and let's look at our topic. Just give me 1 second, guys. I didn't get time to arrange my notes.
Ma'am, I think after B.Ed you'll complete your studies, no? You don't want to study anymore, no?
I'm not sure, Karthik. I might.
Ma'am, like during
Yes.
our last days of college, we miss it a lot, no? Do you miss or you feel relaxed?
Not at all. I don't miss my college at all. I just want to get out as fast as possible.
Like we feel a bit emotional, no, ma'am, like during the last days.
I don't feel because it was completely online from the beginning till then. We only met for 2.5 months. That's it.
Oh, okay.
That's it, right? And after a certain age, the college life is not same. Like how I used to be in college, actual college, that was when I was doing my grads. And after completing my grads, then my masters, then I'm doing my B.Ed. So it's not the same thing anymore. Now my focus is not college, my focus is my work. So it's very difficult to actually go there and
Oh,
attend the classes.
oh, okay, ma'am.
So perspective, right? Perspective changes, everything changes,
Well, you
right?
should take admission after your B.Ed in PhD.
PhD.
Yes.
Let's hope that happens,
Because ma'am,
Shailendra.
the full form of PhD is पागल होके देखो.
It's actually true, people who do PhDs, they always tell me कि पूरा पागल बना देता है. You get completely mad. My brother is also doing PhD. He says the same thing. Chaliye, okay, let's come back to our topic. And our topic is, as we were discussing, the types of sentences, right? And we have discussed simple sentence, compound sentence, and complex sentence. हमने 3 types के sentences देखे हैं, and depending on the structure. Okay, ये जो 4 divisions है, they are depending on the structure. So these were the formulas that we discussed. And simple sentences are basically subject plus verb. That is, it can also function as a predicate. So it is basically an independent clause. An independent clause with a end punctuation, full stop, comma, full stop, question mark, whatever it is. Okay, so that is a simple sentence. Compound sentence क्या है? दो independent clauses होंगे या दो से ज्यादा independent clauses होंगे. So two or more independent clauses in a sentence connected through maybe a coordinating conjunction, maybe a correlative conjunction, maybe simply a colon, right? All of this, sorry, a semicolon, and all of these are will be considered as compound sentences. Okay. And complex sentences, it was one independent clause plus one dependent clause plus as many dependent clauses as you want, right? So one independent clause plus one or more dependent clauses. This is the formula for complex sentences. Okay, so this is what we saw. And the last one that we are going to discuss is compound complex sentences. Compound complex sentences. So I explained that it will have elements of both the types of sentences, compound sentences as well complex sentences, right? So compound का मतलब ही है कि दो independent clauses होंगे. So obviously we have two independent clauses here. Independent clause 1 plus independent clause 2. Then how does it become complex? It becomes complex when we add a dependent clause to it. So then we will add one or more dependent clauses. So दो independent clauses plus एक या एक से ज्यादा dependent clauses. That is being called as our compound complex sentence. Formula clear hai guys? All the four formulas?
Can you give an example of last one?
Of course, I will. We will discuss it, right? Chaliye. So, compound complex sentences. As we just discussed, compound complex sentences are one of the four main types of sentence structures. They are made of two independent clauses, also known as main clauses. We know this, and one or more dependent clauses, also known as subordinating clauses, right? We also remember. So, थोड़ा सा धीरे धीरे जाते हैं. Complex versus compound sentences. So we know that a compound complex sentence has to satisfy the conditions we establish for both compound sentence and complex sentence. So what is being said here? बहुत simple. अगर हम sentence का नाम दे रहे हैं compound complex sentence, मतलब it has to have characteristics of both compound sentences and complex sentences. As I explained, compound sentence means two independent clauses, they will be there, and complex sentence means dependent clause, one or more dependent clause. So one or more dependent clause will also be there. This is the basic definition of a of a compound complex sentence. So how will we form the compound complex sentences? In a compound complex sentence, we join the complex independent clause to the other independent clause in the same way as the normal compound sentences, with coordinating conjunctions, correlative conjunctions, conjunctive adverbs, or semicolon, right? Take, for example, these two separate sentences. So what is being said? How will we join? So we have got three elements already. One independent clause, second independent clause, and one dependent clause. So how will we join these three things? उसके बीच बीच में क्या लगाएंगे ताकि वो join हो? That is what we will look at. So we already know कि अगर compound sentence बनाना है तो दो independent clauses को जोड़ेंगे. And when we are attaching or kind of putting together two independent clauses, what do we use? We are using these things, right? Coordinating conjunctions, correlative conjunctions, conjunctive adverbs, or semicolons. So that same rule will apply in a compound complex sentence as well. So the two separate independent clauses will be joined by these conjunctions only. So let's look at the example. Because I love to read, I like to visit the library. I enjoy going to the bookstores too. So the first example is a complex sentence. We know why is it a complex sentence? Bataiye. Yes. Because I love to read, I like to visit the library. Yes.
One independent, one dependent.
Yes. Which one is independent and which one is dependent, Karthik?
First one is dependent, second one is independent.
Absolutely correct. The first one is a dependent clause, the second one is an independent clause. So this is becoming our complex sentence, right? And the dependent clause is not italicized here. The second one is a standard independent clause. So ये जो second वाला है हमारा, ये standard independent clause है. अपने आप में एक पूरा independent clause है. क्योंकि इसके पीछे एक full stop है and इसके आगे भी एक full stop है, इसका मतलब ये यहाँ पे simple sentence है. Right? So one independent clause or one simple sentence is there. How will we attach these two sentences? One, basically a complex sentence, another a simple sentence. Complex sentence plus simple sentence. What is going to happen? The sentence will become, because I love to read, I like to visit the library, and I enjoy going to the bookstores too. क्या बन गया? ये बन गया हमारा compound complex sentence. This becomes our compound complex sentence. Why? Let us identify the parts. One independent clause, I like to visit the library. Another independent clause, I enjoy going to the bookstores too. And one dependent clause, because I love to read. So formula हमारा मिल गया. Two independent clauses plus one dependent clause. Is this clear, guys? How we are making or forming the compound complex sentences?
I think these kind of sentences are rare, no?
No, not at all, not at all. If you read good books that are written by those are written by actually good authors, you will see that the amount of compound and complex sentences are very high. Okay.
Okay.
Especially, I would say complex sentences are very high in number. So you would have to read a little bit of good literature. You will come across this very easily. But when we are speaking, are we using these kind of sentences? Most definitely we are. But we do not even realize that we are using these kind of sentences. For example, when we are talking to someone about something, how do we speak? We say things like, I absolutely love watching television, so I watch it the entire day, and I even sometimes watch it in the night. Right? So we say like this only, right? We speak like this. So we are using multiple conjunctions in a sentence and forming complex sentences, compound complex sentences without even realizing it. राइट सो हम फॉर्म करते हैं, हम उसी तरीके से बात करते हैं कॉमनली, बट हमें पता ही नहीं होता है कि ये कंपाउंड कॉम्प्लेक्स सेंटेंस है या कॉम्प्लेक्स सेंटेंस है. ओके, इज दिस क्लियर गाइस? बताइए. एनी क्वेश्चंस? नो क्वेश्चंस? चलिए. सो बचपन में हमें एक चीज बहुत बार सिखाया गया है. आई डोंट नो इफ यू गाइज हैव हर्ड दिस, बट हम लोग को बहुत बार बोला जाता था, हर एक इंग्लिश टीचर हमें बोलती थी कि एक सेंटेंस में कभी भी दो कंजंक्शंस नहीं लगाने हैं, तीन कंजंक्शंस नहीं लगाने हैं, सेंटेंस बहुत खराब साउंड करता है, सेंटेंस ग्रामेटिकली इनकरेक्ट है. सो यू कैन अंडरस्टैंड दैट दैट इज एब्सोल्युटली नॉट ट्रू, राइट? सो यू कैन यूज मल्टीपल कंजंक्शंस, बट इट शुड मेक सेंस. जो कंजंक्शन आप यूज कर रहे हैं, it should make sense. It should not be arbitrarily used. Okay.
Ma'am, in spoken English, which sentences
Yes.
are better, ma'am? Very long sentences or very short and crisp sentences? Which are better?
That depends on how you are speaking. If you're conversing with someone, then you will definitely speak in longer sentences. अगर मैं आपसे बात करूँ, if I'm talking to you about something that I like or something in general, I will definitely talk to you in longer sentences, right? I wouldn't want to break my sentences apart. But when you're giving a speech, it is definitely better to avoid much longer sentences. Why? Because when you're giving a speech, maybe 50 people are sitting in front of you. To hold their attention, it's very difficult to hold their attention if you're speaking in very longer sentences, especially if your audience comprises of non-native speakers. So they will automatically lose attention if you're speaking in very longer sentences, very long sentences. So in that case, you will want to break down the sentences into either simple or compound, or maybe some complex sentences here and there.
Most
but
of
best
the
stick
public
to
speakers
yes,
use very short sentences.
Exactly. But you will see this actually changes if you look at native speakers. When you go to a native speaker's let's say YouTube channel, or maybe they are giving a TEDx speech, you will see they are using very long sentences, very complex, maybe compound complex sentences. Why? It's not because they are native speakers, it's because their audience are also native speakers. Okay, when the audience
TEDx actually they share their own story. So in stories we use very big lines.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. You will always see a very definite shift in the way sentence structure works when a native speaker is speaking and when a non-native speaker is speaking. Okay, so what native speakers do not understand is that if you are speaking to maybe non-native speakers, they might not understand longer sentences, because what happens is if one sentence is going on for too long, your mind will automatically lose connection between the first part of the sentence and the last part of the sentence. Okay, like I can tell you this from experience. Kya hota tha when we used to read books written by Indian authors, Same topic, okay, and good books, very good books, but written by Indian authors. Uh, it was on criticism. It's not about even stories, okay, like criticize kiya jata tha work ko. The sentences were so easily digestible, right? Because they were very short and crisp and very easily digestible. एक sentence इतना नहीं चल रहा है कि सामने क्या पढ़ा मैं भूल गई last तक जाते जाते. But when we used to read native writers, so actually British authors जो लिखते थे criticism, जब तक लास्ट तक जा रहे सेंटेंस का फर्स्ट में क्या पढ़ा था, we used to forget. Because one paragraph would comprise of maybe two sentences and huge paragraphs. So huge, like sentences with very complex structures. So it's very difficult to understand. So when you're speaking as a non-native speaker, I would always recommend that you stick to shorter, crisper sentences like compound and simple. But yes, if you are talking to someone, you can definitely use these kind of structures, which we are usually told that are not correct. Right? We are usually told that you cannot use multiple conjunctions in a sentence, but that's not correct. You can, but you have to use it correctly, of course. Okay. So I
Okay,
hope
ma'am.
this is a little clear what are compound complex sentences and how they are formed. Yes,
Yes,
guys?
ma'am. Clear.
Okay. Chali, let's look at another example here. So the first one, we can see that they have used uh, to join the two independent clauses, and the one dependent clause is using because, that we know is a subordinating conjunction. But to join the two independent clauses, we are using and, which is of course a coordinating conjunction, right? So the rules are not changing. You can see when we are joining the dependent clause and the independent clause, we are using a subordinating conjunction only because, right? Excuse me. And when we are joining the two independent clauses, then we are using the coordinating conjunction only. So the rules of compound and complex sentences are not changing. Simply, we are just attaching them together, right? So if you look at the next example, you can see we are using a correlative conjunction in this one. We are using a correlative conjunction. So because I love to read, not only do I like to visit the library, but I also enjoy going to stores too, going to bookstores too, right? What is happening? Look at the sentence, okay? Because I love to read. This is our dependent clause. Because is our subordinating conjunction. Not only do I like to visit the library, this is our independent clause number one, but I also enjoy going to bookstores too. This is our independent clause number two. So we are understanding that the dependent clause is attached to the independent clause using the conjunction or subordinating conjunction because. But what are we using to join the two independent clauses? We are using a correlative conjunction. Correlative conjunction, you remember two conjunctions will be there in one sentence and that will function as one conjunction. So not only and but.
And what happens if we remove two at the end?
If we remove two, nothing
At
happens.
the end.
But I also enjoy going to bookstores, full stop. That's it.
No need of two, no?
No, two is just there to emphasize the fact I love that too. वो भी पसंद है. Kind of like
Okay.
bhi in Hindi. Okay, that's it. So we are getting our correlative conjunction here, not only and but. This is our correlative conjunction that is joining the two independent clauses, forming a compound complex sentence. Okay. Next one, conjunctive adverb. Because I love to read, again, the dependent clause is remaining the same with the same subordinating conjunction because I like to visit the library. Independent clause number one. I enjoy going to the bookstores. Independent clause number two. What are we using to join these two? We are using a conjunctive adverb additionally. So this is our conjunctive adverb. Okay. So this is another way of forming compound complex sentence using conjunctive adverbs. And the last one is the simplest. Because I love to read, again, dependent clause with subordinating conjunction because I like to visit the library, independent clause one. I enjoy going to the bookstores too, independent clause two. What are we using to join it? We are using simply the punctuation semicolon, right? So all of these four types, coordinating conjunctions, then correlative conjunctions, then conjunctive adverbs and semicolon. all of these four things are used to join two independent clauses together. दो independent clauses को join करने के लिए हम इन चार चीजों का इस्तेमाल करते हैं, right? Coordinating conjunction, correlative conjunction, conjunctive adverb और semicolon. So इस तरीके से हम easily compound complex sentences बना सकते हैं. All right, is this clear, guys?
I think conjunctive adverbs we use mostly in writing, no, than speech.
Yes, definitely. But yes, when you are giving a very formal speech, we can use conjunctive adverbs. Like in conclusion, I would like to say this and this, or summarizing this, I would like to say this and this. So you can say that.
But mostly we don't use in speech, no, conjunctive adverbs.
No. If you're speaking in conversation, we most definitely never use conjunctive adverbs. But yes, in formal speech we can, but in writing we do use, especially writing essays and papers, right? Formal writing. Okay, chaliye. So this is basically what a compound complex sentence is. And we will look at the next type of compound complex, that is multiple dependent clauses. So right now we looked at sentences where we had two independent clauses and one dependent clause, two independent clauses and one dependent clause. Now we will look at compound complex sentences with two independent clauses and more than one dependent clause. So maybe two dependent clauses. Okay. So let's look at the examples here. Complex compound sentences can also have more than one dependent clause. For example, let's break this sentence. Although I promised I'd study with Ethan, I'd rather go to the movies with Jim. Nevertheless, I made a promise, even if it isn't as much fun. So it's a very, very long sentence, right? And let's butcher this sentence. So सबसे पहले तो हम तोड़ देंगे इसको दो independent clauses में. We can understand कि दोनों independent clauses, what are we using to join the two independent clauses? Anyone?
What, ma'am?
What are we using to join the two independent clauses?
Ma'am, coordinating conjunction.
Although.
Although, no. Although is not a coordinating conjunction. What are the two independent clauses? Okay, tell me what are the two independent clauses? Try, guess कीजिए. Yes. Whatever makes sense on its own becomes an independent clause. Simplest formula.
Yeah, I promised.
Yes, I made a promise.
Oh, that.
I made a promise is one independent clause. Okay, so इसको independent clause number 2 बोलेंगे. What's the first independent clause?
Like there are so many sentences. Yeah.
I promised I would study with Ethan. No, it is I would rather go to the movies with Jim. Right? This is the first independent clause. Independent clause number 1. So what are we using to join I would rather go to the movies with Jim? I made a promise. These are the two independent clauses. What are we using to join?
Nevertheless.
Nevertheless, absolutely correct. Nevertheless. And what is nevertheless?
It's a subordinating conjunction, I think.
Conjunctive adverb. Conjunctive adverb, right? Subordinating conjunctions cannot join two independent clauses. Two independent clauses are on equal level. So how can subordinating conjunctions join, right? So conjunctive adverb. Okay. Now let's come to the dependent clauses. So if
what is although?
Although is basically our subordinating conjunction here.
Okay, ma'am.
Understood. So although I promised I would study with Ethan, first dependent clause. Dependent clause number 1. This is our subordinating conjunction here. Although, right? And I got even if it isn't as much fun. Even if it isn't as much fun is our dependent clause number 2. So what is the conjunction here? Even if. Understood? This is the conjunction. So you understand the sentence, guys. So we have first, we have one dependent clause. Then we have one independent clause. Then we have another independent clause. And then we have another dependent clause. Right? So Now we are joining these two independent clauses using a conjunctive adverb, and we are joining the separate dependent clauses with the independent clauses using subordinating conjunctions. Is this clear, guys, how it works if you are using two independent clauses and two dependent clauses? थोड़ा थोड़ा समझ में आने से ही हो जाएगा, ज़्यादा you don't have to go in much depth. Yes? Okay, let's butcher the second sentence then. Let's look at the second sentence. I got into gymnastics before my brother, but I got into archery because of my brother. But I got into archery because of my sister. This is a very simple sentence. What are the independent clauses, guys? Yes.
But I got into archery.
Two independent clauses, right?
No, that is dependent. But I got into archery is dependent, and the second dependent is because of my sister.
Because of my sister is a dependent clause. I will take this.
But I got into archery is again
But I got
dependent.
into archery. What is but? Is it a subordinating conjunction?
No, ma'am,
Fanboys.
it's a coordinating conjunction.
So if it is a coordinating conjunction, how will it have a dependent clause attached to it?
Oh, okay,
Right.
correct.
So then what is the second dependent clause? What is the subordinating conjunction?
Because of my brother.
Because of my brother. Absolutely correct. So this is another dependent clause. So this is dependent clause number 1. Then what is but? But is
about coordinating conjunction.
Coordinating conjunction. What does coordinating conjunction connect?
Two independent clauses.
I got into gymnastic, I got into archery. Independent clause number 1 and independent clause number 2. Okay. And what are the subordinating conjunctions here then?
Because only one.
Absolutely correct. So these are the subordinating conjunctions. Understood? So sentence structure, independent clause 1 plus dependent clause 1. How are we connecting it? Using a subordinating conjunction. Because simple, independent clause and dependent clause, upar niche, what will we use to attach them? Subordinating conjunction. Done. Independent clause 2, dependent clause 2. How are we attaching them? Again, same, independent clause and dependent clause, disparity is there, right? Upar niche hai. So we will attach them using a subordinating conjunction. What is the subordinating conjunction? Because. And this entire thing functions as independent clause. This entire thing functions as independent clause. So in दोनों को कैसे जोड़ा जा रहा है? The two independent clauses using, of course, what? Two independent clauses, they are equal on the same level. So we will use coordinating conjunction. What is the coordinating conjunction? But.
Yes. Can you explain the meaning of first sentence, ma'am?
First sentence, definitely. Once. Although I promised I'd study with Ethan, I'd rather go to the movies with Jim. Nevertheless, I made a promise, even if it isn't as much fun. Although I made a promise to study, although I promised to study, Ethan के साथ पढ़ाई करने के को Ethan को promise. Oh, you cannot. Okay. One second. So to again English and to explain English, right? So basically the person is saying that although I have promised to Ethan that I will study with him, I would rather go to movies with Jim. So I would prefer to go to movies with Jim. So I have already promised Ethan that I would study with him, but I would prefer to go to movies with Jim. Nevertheless, but I have made a promise. Nevertheless, here basically means but I have made a promise. And although it isn't much fun, I will still have to study with Ethan. Understood, Karthik?
Oh my God, very big sentence.
Very big sentence. That's why compound complex sentence, right? But you see, we can use these kind of sentences, and we do use these kind of sentences. Like I got into gymnastics because of my brother, but I got into archery because of my sister. But की जगह पे and भी लगा सकते हैं. We can say, and the meaning will definitely change a little bit, but you can definitely use and as well, and the sentence structure will remain same. It will become a compound complex sentence because and is also a coordinating conjunction, right? So what other sentences can we make like this? I can say something like, I ate an apple because I was hungry, but I went out because there were no oranges in the house, right? So something like that. So you can understand that these kind of sentences are quite common.
Ma'am,
Zyada,
I'll say one
yes,
sentence, ma'am.
yes,
Um,
definitely.
I slept early because I was tired, but when my father entered, I again returned to my studies. Like that. Can
But
you repeat?
when my father entered, I again returned to my studies. So when my father entered, I again returned to my studies. This will be considered as one independent clause. Okay, so this is a compound complex sentence, but it will be considered as one independent clause. So your sentence has two independent clauses and one dependent clause. Understood, Karthik?
Yes, ma'am. Like little bit of we should change, no, ma'am.
Yeah, but it's
Oh,
correct. Very good. Absolutely correct. It is also compound complex sentence. Okay.
okay.
Bilkul. Because compound complex sentences are formed by two independent clauses and one or more dependent clause. So you have already used one dependent clause and two independent clauses. So it's definitely
Yes,
a
ma'am.
compound complex sentence. Okay. Chaliye. So is this a little clear, guys? And we have the formulas, of course. If you want, take a screenshot. It will help you maybe. Yes. So what should be our focus when we are talking about sentence structure and types of sentences based on sentence structure? Our focus should be simple sentences, compound sentences, and complex sentences. Complex, compound, and simple. These three should be our main focus. बिकॉज इन्हीं तीनों से हम सीखेंगे कि पैसिव कैसे बनाते हैं, एक्टिव कैसे बनाते हैं, so on and so forth. Okay, so these three should be really clear to you guys. How to form simple sentences, what are compound sentences, and how to form complex sentences. Is this clear, guys? Bataiye.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, yes, anyone else has any questions, any doubts? Okay, anyone who can tell me what are the four elements used to join compound sentences? ये जो plus लिखा हुआ है, two independent clauses being joined. What are the four elements that are used to join these two independent clauses? Yes.
Ma'am, coordinating conjunctions.
Okay, coordinating conjunctions one, then
Comma.
not comma. Comma will be used before the coordinating conjunction. If you're writing the coordinating conjunction, before that you
Oh,
will
yeah.
put a comma. Right. So second thing, what is used? Yes, anyone else? Try कीजिए.
Semicolon.
Very good, Dipali. Absolutely correct. Semicolon. Then the third one, another type of conjunction.
You're saying a conjunctive adverb.
Correct. Conjunctive adverbs. Very good. And the fourth one, another type of conjunction that has two words.
Correlative conjunction.
Correlative conjunction. So compound sentence में independent clause और dependent clause को जोड़ने के लिए चार चीजों की इस्तेमाल की जा सकती है. One is our coordinating conjunction. Second is correlative conjunction. Third is conjunctive adverb. And the fourth one is the punctuation semicolon. Right? So these four things can be used to form compound sentences. This is important, guys. You have to remember this. Okay. If you don't understand, please ask. I'll explain as many times as I can. Okay. All right. And the next type is complex sentences. And we have talked about this. It will have one independent clause and one dependent clause. And because it has one independent clause and one dependent clause, so disparity, then what kind of conjunction will we use?
Subordinating.
Subordinating conjunction. Absolutely correct. So these three are very important. Isko अच्छे से समझिए. The rest is fine. Okay. So any questions or doubts from these types of sentences, sentences depending on the structure? No, right? Okay. Then we will move on to the second kind of sentences. Okay, so we have already talked about the fact that sentence structure, depending on how the sentence is formed, we have divided into four different types: simple, compound, complex, and compound complex. Right? Now, coming to the meaning or purpose. So when we talk about the meaning or purpose of a sentence, we have divided the different types of sentence as these few. Actually, these four. Okay, declarative sentence, interrogative sentence, exclamatory sentence, and imperative sentence. So these are the four types. ओके, सो मतलब सेंटेंस का क्या मतलब निकल रहा है, अर्थ क्या निकल रहा है, इस पर बेस करके हमने उसको 4 भाग में डिवाइड किया है। डिक्लेरेटिव, इंटरोगेटिव, एक्सक्लेमेटरी, इंपेरेटिव, ये 4 भाग है। पहले के जो 4 भाग थे, सिंपल, कंपाउंड, कंपाउंड कॉम्प्लेक्स और कॉम्प्लेक्स, वो 4 भाग स्ट्रक्चर के ऊपर कि सेंटेंस बन कैसे रहा है, उसमें कितने क्लॉजेस है, कौन कौन से तरह के क्लॉजेस है, वो लगाकर हम दिखा रहे थे। उसको हम अलग तरीके से डिवाइड कर रहे थे स्ट्रक्चर के ऊपर डिपेंड करके। अब हम डिवाइड कर रहे हैं मीनिंग के ऊपर, अर्थ के ऊपर डिपेंड करके। ओके, सो नाउ there are two more types here that you can see, negative and negative interrogative. So these are not actually different types of sentences, these are variations of these 4 types. सो ये जो 2 है, नेगेटिव सेंटेंसेस एंड नेगेटिव इंटरोगेटिव सेंटेंसेस, ये अलग तरह नहीं है, मतलब ये अलग भाग नहीं है, भाग सिर्फ 4 ही है, अर्थ पर डिपेंड करके सिर्फ 4 ही भाग है सेंटेंसेस के। ये इन्हीं 4 भागों के डिफरेंट वेरिएशंस है, उन्हीं को थोड़ा चेंज करके बनाया गया है। ओके, सो नेगेटिव बनाया गया है, जब उनको नेगेटिवली बोला जाता है तो वो नेगेटिव बनते हैं। सो हाउ विल वी मेक नेगेटिव सेंटेंसेस? सिंपल, डिक्लेरेटिव कैन बी आइदर पॉजिटिव, सो नॉर्मल डिक्लेरेटिव, और इट कैन बी नेगेटिव, या फिर नेगेटिव हो सकता है। ओके, फॉर एग्जांपल, आई ईट एन एप्पल, आई ईट एन एप्पल, सो दैट इज डिक्लेरेटिव सेंटेंस। बट इफ आई से आई डू नॉट ईट एन एप्पल, नॉट लग गया, वो बन गया हमारा नेगेटिव। ओके, सिमिलरली exclamatory में भी क्या होगा? If we are adding not, it becomes a negative sentence. So if I say I love your dress, I love your dress, so it becomes our positive sentence, it becomes an exclamatory sentence. But if I say I do not love your dress, I do not love your dress, so it has not, it becomes a negative sentence. Similarly, imperative, I can say open the door, open the door, it becomes imperative, right? उसको negative कैसे बनाएंगे? We will add not, do not open the door, not बन गया हमारा negative imperative sentence. Okay, and what is negative interrogative sentences? From the name only you can understand, the negative form of interrogative sentences is called negative interrogative sentence. The negative form of interrogative sentences is called negative interrogative sentences. Okay, so instead of asking do you like it, do you like it, question mark, interrogative sentence है, question है हमारा. But if I say do you not like it, yes, do you not like it, in that case we are adding not, it becomes a negative interrogative sentence. Okay, so we will look at all of these types and their variations in details one by one. So we will start with our declarative sentence. All right, koi questions, koi doubts yahan tak, anything you have in mind you guys can ask. Yes, no questions, chaliye. Okay, so we will start with,
Ma'am, can you reshare the screen?
definitely, definitely. Yes, देखिए, is it visible?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Most welcome. So we will start with our declarative sentence. Where is it? Yes, here it is. So we will start with declarative sentence. So declarative sentence क्या है? इसका मतलब क्या है? So from the word itself, we can understand, from the name itself, declare करना, to declare something, right? So declarative sentences are also sometimes called as assertive, they are also sometimes called as assertive sentences. Okay, so declare करना या assert करना, इसका मतलब क्या है? कि आप कोई चीज बोल रहे हैं, right? You're saying something with conviction, with in a sense that you believe that is true. Okay, and even if you're lying, then you are declaring that. Okay, so ये होता है basic meaning of declarative या assertive sentence. So a declarative sentence makes a statement or argument about what it is, about what is, was or will be the case. So basically एकदम simple जो हम sentences everyday use में use करते हैं, all of those mostly come under declarative sentences. If I say something like Anisha is taking a class, the truth, right? Full stop. So it is a declarative sentence. If I say Anisha does not teach every day. Full stop. Again, declarative sentence. Why? Because it is telling us the truth. Okay, but if I lie about something, for example, Anisha is wearing a pink t-shirt. She's not, right? But this is a lie. But this will also come under declarative sentence because we are making a statement. When we are making a statement, it becomes a declarative sentence. So that is, it talks about that which is asserted to be true. So asserted to be true, यही से नाम आता है assertive sentence. Okay, assert करना मतलब कोई चीज क्या बोले, कोई चीज जाहिर करना. Okay, kind of like जबरदस्ती किसी चीज को assert करने की कोशिश करना. So declarative sentences usually end in a period also known as a full stop and are the most ubiquitous type of sentences in English. Okay, I don't know the meaning of ubiquitous. I'll have to search and tell you if you guys want to know. Okay, but usse pehle I will just quickly tell you about the, yes.
Ubiquitous means if something is available everywhere. If
Oh,
a
it's
thing is
easily
available.
available. Easily.
Yeah, ma'am. Yeah, ma'am.
Okay, okay. Thank you,
Like
Shailendra. Yes.
like ma'am, temples in India is ubiquitous.
Okay, okay. Very good,
I
very
think
good.
in this line, it means it is mostly used.
Yes, it is the most used type of sentence in our daily
Yeah.
life, right? Thank you so much, Shailendra. Absolutely correct. So that answers everyone's question. चलिए, so एक बार quickly हम देख लेते हैं end punctuation. So we have already talked about end punctuation in one of the classes. End punctuation मतलब होता है सिर्फ तीन. There are only 3 end punctuations in English language. End punctuation मतलब क्या? कि ये sentence के end में आएंगे. Whenever you see one of these 3 punctuations, you know that the sentence ends there. एक सेंटेंस वहां पर खत्म होता है, राइट? हिंदी में हम इस टाइप का कुछ साइन करते हैं, राइट? ऐसे कर देते हैं, तो उसका मतलब होता है कि सेंटेंस वहां पे खत्म हो गया. इफ आई एम नॉट रॉन्ग, नो, फुल स्टॉप ही यूज करते हैं हिंदी में. आई हैव फॉरगॉटन.
Yes, ma'am. You are right.
ऐसे ऐसे करते हैं, राइट? हिंदी में
पूर्ण विराम बोलते हैं उसको.
पूर्ण विराम. यस, पूर्ण विराम. इतने साल हो गए हिंदी लिखे हुए, भूल गए. सो यस, पूर्ण विराम जैसे होता है हिंदी में, एंड पंक्चुएशन भी ऐसे ही होता है इंग्लिश में. इससे हम सेंटेंस को खत्म करते हैं. सो 3 है, फुल स्टॉप या पीरियड भी बोलते हैं इसको, एक्सक्लेमेशन मार्क एंड क्वेश्चन मार्क, राइट? सो ये जो डिक्लेरेटिव सेंटेंस है सबसे आसान है. इसमें हम हमेशा पीरियड या फुल स्टॉप का इस्तेमाल करते हैं. वी विल नॉट यूज एनी अदर काइंड ऑफ एंड पंक्चुएशन विद अ डिक्लेरेटिव सेंटेंस. डिक्लेरेटिव सेंटेंस के साथ हम और किसी तरीके का एंड पंक्चुएशन यूज नहीं करेंगे. ऑलराइट, सो क्या बोला जा रहा है, देखिए. ओके, if they are expressing a strong emotion or are forceful in nature, they can also end in exclamation points, in which case they are sometimes. So ये हम नहीं देखेंगे, ये different types of sentences के बारे में बोला जा रहा है, ये हम बाद में धीरे धीरे देखेंगे एक एक सेंटेंस. ओके, let's first focus at declarative sentences simply. So different structure क्या है declarative sentences का, अभी अभी हमने पढ़ा है, तो ज्यादा कुछ समझने की भी जरूरत नहीं है, एकदम सिंपल है. So obviously declarative sentences can be of 4 types depending on structure. The 4 structures that we have just read. क्या क्या है? Simple, compound, complex sentences. All right. So simple में क्या क्या है देखिए. Simple में है हमारा I am walking to the library. She went to the park yesterday. I hope to see you soon. बिल्कुल simple sentences है. Simple sentences क्यों है बताइए? Yes, anyone? I am walking to the library. She went to the park yesterday.
I'm only one independent clause.
Only one independent clause. Very good. Karthik, what are the subjects and the verbs?
Subject I, ma'am. Am walking is the verb, like
Am
auxiliary and the
verb.
main verb. Auxiliary
Right,
and main
correct.
verb.
Correct. So we can say am walking to the library. The entire thing is what?
It is a verb phrase.
Verb phrase, absolutely correct. बिल्कुल verb phrase है, but predicate, right?
Okay, predicate.
Okay, predicate. Very good. So subject plus predicate, simple हमारा sentence बन गया. Absolutely correct. So all these 3 are simple sentences. Next
Sorry,
we go to
am walking to the library is verb clause.
verb clause. Am walking to the library. No, it is verb phrase. Clause कैसे होगा? There is no subject.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Understood? Okay, so let's come to compound sentences. So we have 3 sentences again. She wanted to play basketball, but he wanted to play tennis. Either I will pick you up tonight or you can get a ride home with your father. I have always wanted to try riding a jet ski. However, I'm too worried about my safety. All of these sentences are making statements. कुछ बोला जा रहा है. एकदम plain simple statement दिया जा रहा है. Full stop है हर एक के बाद. So ये हमारे क्या बन गए? Declarative और assertive sentences. और किस टाइप के सेंटेंस है डिपेंडिंग ऑन द स्ट्रक्चर? कंपाउंड सेंटेंसेस है. क्यों? Why are these compound sentences, guys? Yes.
One dependent clause and one independent clause.
Urvi,
No.
in compound sentences we use two
Independent clauses.
independent clauses. Very close, Urvi. Very close, right? But we are using 2 independent clauses. She wanted to play basketball, one independent clause. He wanted to play tennis, another independent clause. And we are joining them using a
But yes,
Only, ma'am, only one doubt, ma'am. Always means I have always this doubt, ma'am. Ma'am, if you observe in this kind of compound sentences, we are using but to join 2 independent classes, no?
right.
Ma'am, in like other sentence, like complex sentence, we use subordinate conjunction to add independent and dependent classes, no?
Right.
Ma'am, even after subordinate conjunction, there is independent clause, no? Then why are you saying that because
Grammatically, Karthik, if you look at it grammatically, it might seem like it is an independent clause, but if you look at it from the point of view of meaning, then it is always a dependent clause.
I mean,
Okay.
it always confuses me, ma'am. Like,
I know. It also confuses me. If I write a sentence like,
means in a like in this, for example, if we consider coordinating conjunction, we are means we are not adding that coordinating conjunction to the sentence. But when it is in subordinating conjunction, we are adding it and we are naming it as a dependent clause. Yeah.
absolutely correct. So we have got 2 sentences here. I hate mangoes, but I eat it. And the second one is, I eat mangoes because I love it. Okay. If you look at the 2 sentences, aap bolna cha rahe, if we take out these 2 conjunctions, one is a coordinating conjunction, the second one is a subordinating conjunction. Then it still makes sense, right? I love it still makes sense. I eat it still makes sense. I hate mangoes still makes sense. I eat mangoes still makes sense. So they are all logically independent clauses. Then why is because I love it and but I eat it considered as 2 different clauses? One is considered as independent clause and the other one is considered as dependent clause, right? Yes, Karthik. So
yes,
it actually comes down to meaning. It actually comes down to meaning. If you look at the sentence, if I say I hate mangoes, but I eat it, you will see that this action of eating and this action of hating are not dependent on each other. They are not dependent on each other. If I say I hate mangoes, that is a separate action, but I eat it is a separate action. Okay.
But they are dependent, no? Like, because as I hate mangoes, I don't eat it.
How is it dependent? I am saying, but I eat it. I'm not saying I don't
for
eat
example,
it.
ma'am, if I hate any curry, I don't eat it.
So you will say, I don't eat a curry because I hate it, not but I hate it. Coming down to meaning, okay, Karthik, that is what I'm trying to explain. See, if I say something like, I go to college, but I hate it. I go to college, but I hate it. My goodness, that only came to my mind. So why am I saying this? Basically, I hate the college. One fact, one action. I go to college. Another fact, another action. Are they dependent? Am I going to college because I hate it? Or am I hating the college because I go to it? No. Separate actions, not dependent on each other. But if I say I eat mangoes because I love it, you're giving a reason why you are eating mangoes. This action loving it. It is depending on eating mangoes. It is depending on eating mangoes. So it is coming down to meaning. It is not the structure anymore. Understood?
Ma'am, then I'll give you an example, ma'am.
Give, yes.
I eat mangoes for I eat it.
I eat mangoes for I love it.
Sorry, for I love it. So here, for has the meaning of because, no?
Yes,
It is
it
also
has the
giving
meaning
us.
of because, but
It
for
is also
is our
giving us.
coordinating conjunction.
Yeah, that's what
Fanboys,
I'm
yes,
saying.
for. I
It
eat
is also
mangoes for
giving
I
us.
love it.
It is also giving us the reason, no? Why I
I have
eat
no idea.
mangoes.
Yes, that is absolutely true because it is also functioning as because. I eat mangoes for I love
For
it.
yeah, then why means what is the difference between these two? I eat mangoes for I love it. I eat mangoes because I love it. Any difference?
I have no idea, Karthik, honestly. So I eat mangoes for I love it. I will tell you in the next class. Today I'll sit down and actually try and differentiate between coordinating and subordinating
Ma'am,
conjunction.
always means, ma'am,
Even I am confused. I am honestly telling you, even I am confused. मुझे ये
ma'am,
समझ में नहीं आता है
actually,
कि बट को क्यों नहीं लेते हैं इसके अंदर इंडिपेंडेंट क्लॉज के अंदर दे वेरी कन्वीनियंटली दे पुट बट आउटसाइड द इंडिपेंडेंट क्लॉज बट व्हेन यू आर राइटिंग बिकॉज दे वेरी कन्वीनियंटली पुट द बिकॉज इनसाइड द डिपेंडेंट क्लॉज सो आई डोंट गेट
actually,
इट
ma'am,
व्हाई
I started reading conjunctions, ma'am, before, but because of this concept only, I got confused and I left reading this conjunction topic.
No, please don't leave. I will definitely research about it today. I have a little bit of time as well. So I'll definitely do it today and try and answer in the evening class.
And
Okay.
not about this for or because, ma'am, like why we are adding subordinating conjunction and why we are saying it as dependent clause and why we are leaving alone coordinating conjunction and why we are framing other sentence as dependent clause. Like that
Absolutely.
what?
I have the same question. Same question. Okay. So
Yeah.
I will definitely try and read about it today. Okay, Karthik?
Yes, ma'am. Please, ma'am.
Chaliye. Okay. Let's come back to our compound sentences that are basically declarative sentences. Okay. So these three are compound. You can understand or is used, however is used. All of these are compound sentences. Next, we will move on to the next type of sentence, that is complex sentences. So complex sentences can also be declarative sentences. They can also make statements. For example, even though I am not a fan of hedgehog, I'll go with you to see the birds. Even though I'm not a fan of hedgehog, I'll go with you to see the birds. This is our independent clause. Okay. And this is our dependent clause, even though I'm not a fan of hedgehog. Okay. So these are the two different types of clauses forming complex sentence and they are giving a statement. एक statement दी जा रही है. Full stop लगाया गया है हर एक के बाद. So obviously these are also declarative or assertive sentences, right? So अगर declarative और assertive sentences के बारे में बात करें तो you can very simply understand जो भी हम बोलते हैं, the bulk of what we are speaking throughout the day comes under declarative sentences. Like ये हो रहा है, वो हो रहा है, दुनिया में ऐसा हो रहा है, मैंने ऐसा किया, तुमने वैसा किया, पता है उसने ऐसा बोला, पता है उसने ऐसा किया, everything. All of these are statements. You are giving a statement. All of these come under declarative sentences. And the last type, depending on structure, is complex compound sentence, right? We went to Venice even though they knew I wanted to go to Madrid. Nevertheless, we had a great time. So if we break down this sentence and butcher it, kya hoga? We had a great time. Our independent clause, I wanted to go to Madrid. Our independent clause, nevertheless is our conjunctive adverb. Joining these two independent clauses 1 and 2, we went to Venice even though they knew. No, sorry. This is not the independent clause. Okay, ye nahi hai. This is the independent clause. We went to Venice. This is our independent clause number 1. And even though they knew I wanted to go to Madrid, this is our dependent clause. Okay. So even though here is working as our conjunction to join the independent clause and the dependent clause. And the first independent clause and the second independent clause are joined by the conjunctive adverb nevertheless. Okay. इतना समझने की जरूरत नहीं है. Basic ये है कि these types of sentences are also all declarative sentences because they are making some kind of statement. All right. So These are the different types of declarative sentences based on their structure. Next, we will look at some tenses. We will go through these in the next class, and then we will look at some variations, that is negative declarative sentences and commands and questions. So questions and commands भी हम declarative sentence में बना सकते हैं. वो कैसे बना सकते हैं? We will look at it in the next class, tomorrow's 11 a.m. Okay, guys. So we will stop here for today. थोड़ा सा देखिए classes, कुछ भी doubts है, please ask me in the evening class as well. And today we will have a speaking class, conversation class in the evening. So I'll see you guys at 6 p.m.
Ma'am, what is
Okay.
the
Thank you,
meaning
ma'am.
of Hitchcock?
That is a place or name of a person maybe. Okay.
Hitchcock.
Yes.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Chaliye then. Bye bye. See you guys. Yes, Dipali, do you have a question? No, I think. Okay. Chaliye then. Bye bye. Take care, guys.
Good afternoon, everyone. Pro learners, quickly join the Zoom meeting. All right, guys. Today our topic is countable, uncountable nouns. Okay. 27 slides. So yesterday I remember we had a discussion over countables and uncountable nouns, right?
You look so tired today.
No, I am not tired, Karthik. Okay, so guys, yesterday we had this countable and uncountable thing. So countable noun is something you can count. For example, कोई भी चीज जो आप